Okay, hello everybody. I hope everybody's doing well. Welcome to Kara and I's webinar today about managing anxiety during reentry. First, we're just going to kind of introduce ourselves and then let you know what we're going to be talking about today. But first, I just want to make sure that we're up and running. And so if you see, we would like this to be interactive. So if during the webinar you have any questions, if you see on the right side of your screen, you can just put like a little emoji to say that you're here. If you want to interact, just so you know, that option is there, and Kara and I can read that during the whole session. So if you need us to repeat something, or if you have questions, you can go ahead and interact during the whole session. And we're just going to go ahead and get started. People might join us later. That's okay. This is recorded, and you will automatically get an email of the recording. So that's why we'll go ahead and begin. So if people come a little bit late, they'll still be able to access the material. Okay. So I'm just going to show my pretty little, because we worked on our PowerPoint. I'm going to share my screen here, and here we go. All right. So, welcome to Managing Anxiety During Reentry. My name is Jessica Colarco. I'm a licensed clinical social worker here in Henderson, Nevada. I've been in the social work field for over probably over 20 years now. And I've been practicing in Henderson since about 2013. And my practice focuses on anxiety-related disorders, OCD, PTSD, generalized anxiety disorder, and I really focus on cognitive behavioral therapy. Welcome today, Kara.
And I'm Kara Green. I too am a licensed clinical social worker. I've been in the field for over 30 years. I practiced in New York for many of them, and about 5 years ago I moved here, and I also have a generalized practice. My specialty is anxiety, depression, marital disorders, and I do a lot of family work. I have a history of working in bereavement and parenting. And my office is with Jessica is in the Green Valley area of Henderson.
Okay, so today, when we talk about reentry, we're talking about the various phases that our states are in regarding COVID-19 and the reopening of businesses. Most of us were asked to stay home in order to flatten the curve. And now we're going back to work, back to shopping, eating out, going to barbecues. And it might be confusing and anxiety provoking as we were told to stay home. And now we must trust that it's okay to begin resuming some kind of normalcy. In Nevada, now we're required to wear masks in public spaces, and that might feel strange or silly. And that's okay. We encourage you to talk with your family and friends and decide what works best for you. Maybe you want to continue to work from home and order your groceries in, or maybe you want to go right back out there and live as close to normal as possible. And, that's not what we're going to talk about today. More, it's just kind of managing the anxiety. And so Kara had typed this, and I liked it, just to kind of say that every individual ultimately must make a personal decision about the level of risk that he or she is comfortable with, weighing in your age, health status, life circumstances, and general level of risk aversion or risk tolerance. So again, today is not about like telling you whether we think you should go out or stay home. It's really more about just kind of managing your feelings about going out or staying home. Many of our clients, Kara and I decided to do this webinar because many of our clients are struggling with managing their anxiety as they re-enter the world. They still worry about being exposed to COVID-19, but they also want to get back to doing the things they enjoy. And this conflict and confusion can lead to heightened anxiety. And the focus of today's session is just to talk about, like I said, managing that anxiety. So first, kind of just want to talk about anxiety. So anxiety is a reaction to situations perceived as stressful or dangerous. A certain level of anxiety helps us stay alert and aware. When we feel threatened, we talked about this a lot. Kara and I had that 3-part series on managing anxiety during COVID. And we talked a lot about our amygdala, right? And it's a part of our brain that automatically activates the fight or flight response by sending out signals to release stress hormones that prepare our body to fight or to run away. This response is triggered by emotions like fear, anxiety, aggression, and anger. And it's normal and healthy. And it's important, it's important to know that it's normal and healthy to be anxious about reentry. And I just want to talk a little bit, just touch a little bit before Kara starts to talk about anxiety versus stress. Stress is a response to a situation. So just to kind of simplify it, I say like stress is more a response to a situation in the present, like a job loss, taking a test, hosting an event. And COVID related stress would be if you just hang out with your best friend all day and you just found out that your best friend's husband tested positive, right? So that's something currently that's happening in the now. And anxiety is often a response to thoughts, focused on the past or the future, right? Did I do it right? What if I get in a car accident? What if I get COVID? So not a current present situation, but a lot of times anxiety is when our mind is reeling, focused more on the future or focused kind of on what we did on the past. So that's just kind of a brief little explanation of what anxiety is. Okay. Kara?
Okay. Hi. Welcome to all of you. And today I'm going to speak a while about basically three topics. First, I'm going to start off with a 5-step plan to fight reentry anxiety. Then we're going to talk about 6 things that you may be feeling that are perfectly normal, but they're strange and weird if you really get to think about them, and they're normal. And then we're going to talk a little bit about how to navigate your community reopening. So let's start with my 5-step plan to fight reentry anxiety. We can use an acronym called FIGHT. FIGHT as in flight, fight COVID-19. So what does that stand for? F is focus. Focus on what you can control. I is identify negative thoughts. G is generate alternative thoughts. 4 is to highlight adaptive behaviors. And 5 is to teach. So I'm going to try to go through each of these, and I'm going to ask you at some point to participate and contribute and put anything down that you want. Jessica's the manager of the site, so she'll read them off and give a little feedback. So as Jessica just said, right now there's a lot of uncertainty about COVID. And we have to understand that uncertainty and anxiety go together. They're hand in hand. So during this time, we have to focus on what we can control to try to manage our anxiety. And there are actually elements that we can control. And we've talked about this before, and none of this is rocket science-y, but it's really something that at this point, if we're feeling any anxiety about going into the environment and going in post-pandemic, I'm not sure we can call it post-pandemic, but let's see what we can control. How much media are you allowing yourself to watch? We had recommended previously to limit it twice a day, 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes at night. I know for myself, I go to the RJ and I check out what the statistics are, and I see where we're going. And it just gives me a sense of, okay, I got to figure out what I'm going to do. The other thing that you can control is how much you can talk about it. I talk with people and patients who can talk about it all day. And then I have other people, we discuss it, and then we move on. You are in control of how much you manage and how much you talk to people. We can also control things in our environment. And so I'd like some of you to give me some input on what are some of the things that you're doing in your environment to make it a little more structured and a little more that you have control of. Structure and control lead to feelings of safety and will reduce anxiety. So anybody doing anything different than they did before to give themselves some structure and control of their environment?
Shiloh says he runs at 5 a.m.
Perfect. A little early for me, but I guess at this heat, that's about the only time you can do it. Anybody else, anything?
I am really limiting my exposure. I feel like everything's very heavy right now with what's going on in the world. And so I'm even with my reading, I was reading this book that was very serious. And so I just stopped reading it. And so I'm only, I'm limiting my exposure to media and then also just trying to read lighter books. I'll save the heavy thinking books for later.
I was going to discuss this a little later, but I'll say it now. I have some friends and we get together. We're really 100% COVID safe and quarantined, but we're branching out a little. But we get together once a week to have dinner and just hang out with each other. And the other night, we couldn't think of anything to do. And we watched a movie from 1996, a light comedy that was funny. It was cute. It had no message. And it was called First Wives Club with Goldie Hawn, Meryl Streep, and Bette Midler. It was a riot. It was light. It's not something I would normally look to do right now, but I am trying. So that's—
Talk about later things. Jennifer says that she's limiting the places that she goes and limiting the days that she goes out.
Okay. I think that's great.
Yep. And that's different than normal, than we
Right.
would normally be doing.
Right. I set myself up a little schedule. Not that I follow it all the time, but at least I know it's there. Oh, wonderful.
Oh, and then Edith says every Friday she has a Zoom happy hour with her girlfriends. I haven't done a Zoom happy hour yet, but I want to do one. I'll put that on my list. Thank you.
Right.
Edith.
I do a
That's a good
Zoom.
idea.
I do a Zoom with my friends, but we haven't graduated to happy hour yet. Something we have to think about.
I like that idea.
Yeah, I think that's great. So if we focus on, and then the other thing is that to reduce some of our anxiety and what we control is you can follow the CDC guidelines as it relates to social distancing. Now, admittedly, it changes daily, where we know that sometimes some of the states are not exactly following the same CDC guidelines. So we have to look at that with a critical eye. But if we go to what's being recommended, and if you feel comfortable, that might also lessen anxiety. The next thing, if you can put back.
And I would add, I would just add, to go back to what we talked about at the beginning, like really just deciding what is best for you, right? Because like you said, your state may be different than the CDC, which may be different than the World Health Organization. So just sit down and talk to the people who are important in your life and decide what you think is best. And that's, shifting your focus to what you can control, just deciding what you want to do and with your little village.
Right.
Sorry, Kara.
Okay, if we can put my thing back up. But the next thing for the fight COVID is identify negative thoughts. Well, now, negative thoughts are inevitable right now. There's not even a question. But we have to watch for those that are catastrophic in nature or that are predictive, as in, this is going to happen to me, or this will never end. These type of thoughts create intense emotions. An important skill is to identify the negative thoughts and recognize that such catastrophic thoughts and predictive, the world is going to end thoughts contribute to maintaining anxiety. So how do we fight that? Well, one of the things that we do is generate alternative thoughts. This isn't about positive thoughts or about changing your thoughts to only positive, because you might not feel it. It could be, it's not, oh, you got this, attaboy, I'm going to be fine. What if you don't got this? And what if you don't feel this way? It's about coming up with alternative thoughts. And one of the things we try to talk about is coming up with a retrieval cue, something that reminds you to stay in the present and to remain in uncomfortable situations, work through them, know they will pass, and that you've figured out how you can mitigate that anxiety. So it could be an image or a small statement, and you use it as your anchor. That's your anchor thought when you're feeling anxiety. It's a reminder to be flexible, be present, not escaping what's going on. And that triggers the brain to recall things to do and to say in a situation that can be stressful and keep you in the present. You can create a hierarchy of social situations and then think about how you're going to feel about them. Identify your thoughts in advance. That cue and doing that can remind you that the anxiety is harmless. It can be adaptive. You predicted it. You're going to stay with it. You know it's there, but it can be helpful and you can ride the wave and knowing that it's going to be there and knowing that you can reduce it by certain techniques as opposed to fleeing from it, and that's not really going to help. So what you want to do is identify, and the H is highlight adaptive behaviors. And, and these and find behaviors that will help reduce the negative strong emotions. And, we sound like a broken record, but we sound like a broken record because it really works. Exercise, mindfulness, meditation, connecting with family and friends, even if it's through via technology that Edith does with her friends and has a virtual happy hour. That's the type of stuff that can keep you connected and will reduce your anxiety. Another critical adaptive behavior is anchoring yourself in the present. Say you're in a crowded subway car, not that we have very many in Vegas, and you feel your anxiety rising. So a technique to keep yourself in the present is, here we go again, breathing. Breathing techniques reduce anxiety. So if you're in that subway car or you're someplace that you're feeling uncomfortable, you can take a deep breath in with your nose to the count of 4 and breathe out to your mouth, through your mouth to the count of 6. And if you do that 1 or 2 times, that stimulates the heart and lung synchronization. So now you're grounded in the present, you're anchored, and then you can do what I call a 3-point check. What am I thinking right now? What am I feeling in my body right now? And what am I doing or feel like doing? So ask yourself, am I reacting to what's happening now? Or am I worrying about an event in the future? And if you stay with what's happening now, calm yourself with an anchoring technique, you should reduce your activity. Yes, you might say, oh my God, the train's going to crash. Well, what is the likelihood of that? If you stay in the present, everything in the train is fine right now. So that can really help. The bottom line is you need to respond to what's happening in the present moment. And the last technique for the fight COVID-19 is teaching. And arguably, the most important technique is teaching. And if you teach others that we're all into this together, these are some techniques that I've learned. We can do this together. And if we have the same skills and strategies, I think we will make it through. Does anybody have any questions or any feelings about some of the things that I suggested? Is this fluey? I mean, you don't believe it will work? Or do you think there's some resonance with you that maybe I could try this?
Well, I just want to say I always love an acronym, so that will help me remember the fight. I like that.
I had to practice saying acronym this morning. But
Shiloh loves breathing. I know it's free. You can do it anywhere. You don't need anything. And there's so many different ways to do it. I'm going to go over another strategy for breathing later. But yeah, and like Kara said, there's a physical response to breathing and how that can help calm you.
And it's something that you could do that nobody knows you're doing, and nobody feels that you're anxious if you're in that position. Anybody have it? But the counting thing is something I've done since high school. Great. Me too. I do it a little different. I breathe in, I hold my breath for 5, and then I let it out. So we all have our techniques. If we do them, anybody else do breathing techniques on a somewhat regular basis?
Oh, good. We're going to review that today too, Shiloh, like the progressive muscle relaxation.
That's great. That works. That really works. I'm like a broken record with my patients who have anxiety to, encourage them to do it on a regular basis because it's physiological and it just reduces that anxiety level. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about 6 weird things that you may be feeling, but they're perfectly normal. And it's really a juxtaposition of 2 diametrically opposed feelings around the same issue. So sometimes we could feel guilt, but mixed with gratitude. Nostalgia tinged with remorse, dread combined with anticipation. And these are just a few of the feelings that we might experience in a given day, or for that matter, every half hour. This wacky mashup of intense emotions may make you feel concerned about your sanity. But Jessica and I are here, as are many other mental health providers, to say you're perfectly normal and it's par for the course. So let's take a look at what these normal feelings are, but you might be concerned about. You want the quarantine to end. I mean, I think we all want to go back to normal, but not really. Many people have privately expressed to us they were enjoying the quarantine. Jessica and I were talking about this, and our introverted clients in particular are quite pleased with this type of life. Yet at the same time, it's also normal to desperately want the shelter-in-place orders to end. And also for the government to be telling us what we should be doing. So I think there are, do you follow the government recommendations? Do you think they're wrong? Do you think they're too much? Do you think they're too little? So we all have different feelings. But a lot of us, sometimes are just happy that the decisions have been made for us. Sometimes people feel guilt and gratitude at the same time. So many people feel gratitude that they're in a good place financially, emotionally. They have people around them, and they don't have to worry about their job or their basic needs. And so they feel gratitude about that. But then they feel guilty that there are so many other people out there that have to worry about that. And how should I be feeling gratitude, but when there are so many in this world that don't have it? And these are humans. People are humans that are struggling with scary things going all around them. At some time, we know that we're fortunate for all that we have. And sometimes we feel a little bit guilty because we have more than others. And this to me is just fascinating. And I got to tell you, I see it in my practice. It's mind-blowing. One interesting paradox is that people who have pre-existing anxiety are now exhibiting less anxiety. Why? Because they're feeling finally everybody else feels like I do. For many, during normal times, people who are anxious also often feel out of place. They're uncomfortable. They know they're not enjoying what they could be enjoying. And they're living in a society where most people don't feel that social type of anxiety. So now, hey, you're just like me. I don't feel out of place anymore. We're all doing this. So we have to understand that it's not normal. It's not normal, but it's sort of a paradox that people who are already anxious are not feeling as anxious as they used to. And then for many, we have nostalgia for the past while simultaneously regretting for the road not taken. The smaller world that we find ourselves in now is comparable to what our life was perhaps in childhood. And we might be drawn to things we haven't thought about or done in a very long time. Related to this is the flight to security. For example, we might feel ourselves drawn to activities that we did as children, or watch TV shows or movies that we watched when we were younger. I just purchased, I could show it to you, a $1,500 piece jigsaw puzzle. I loved doing jigsaw puzzles when I was younger. I set up a table in my den. I go to it whenever I want. And if I have some of my group of self-quarantining people come over, we sit and we do it. So that's one thing that a lot of people were finding doing. And also you might have regret for opportunities not taken. So you could look at all the restaurants we could have gone to, or the vacations we could have taken, or we could have taken more advantage of parks. We could have invited more friends over. Why didn't we do that? Changes that we could have made our lives before. And so, you think about that now. Will it inform your decisions going forward? I'm not sure, but a lot of people are feeling that. Some people are feeling intense grief that's really not commensurate with what's going on in reality. But this is a normal reaction to the multitude of losses that we're feeling now. So you have the loss of routines, or schedules, the loss of hobbies, the loss of pleasure, the loss of entertainment. And that can fuel feelings of grief. And then there's apprehension about returning to normal. Some people are realizing that they were pretty unhappy in pre-pandemic times, and they are unenthusiastic about going back to the job that they had or the commute that they had. And they're fearful what's going to happen going forward. Of course, will they have a job for some people? And other people really want to resume their pre-pandemic lives, but feel a lot of fear about going out into society as we know it now. So once again, we want to accept these feelings, know they're normal, and don't judge yourself and don't be too harsh on yourself. So I've talked about this many times. The key to an emotionally healthy person who is someone who feels their feelings. Don't run for your feelings. Enjoy them if you can. Acknowledge them, feel them, and manage them and try to move on. So last thing, and then I'm going to turn over the rest of the session to Jessica, and I'll come back at the end, how to navigate your community's reopening. And one of the things, this isn't an acronym, but it's the 4 C's. You have to think about close contact, confined spaces, crowds, and as Jessica started off with, choices. When the country was largely on lockdown, at least the rules were clear. We knew what we had to do. It was like we turned on a switch. Everyone was sheltering in. We were told we have to do that. Bars and restaurants were closed. Hair salons and spas were shuttered. and our outings were limited to the supermarkets or the drugstore. It was clear cut. Now as states are lifting restrictions, detailed directions about navigating the minutia are not really forthcoming. And as Jessica said earlier, it changes daily. What you hear from the World Health Organization, what you hear from Governor Cuomo from New York, who's on every morning, although I think he stopped, what you hear from our government, what you think about one day is not necessarily the same as going to be tomorrow. And there's never going to be a ready solution to figure out how you're going to handle this. So ramping down was easy compared to opening up. Reopening is much more complicated. There is no playbook. There is no template. We just can't say, follow these rules and you'll be okay. And this is where the detail comes in. So if we look at the precautions we've been told to follow, avoid contact, avoid confinement, avoid crowds, and make realistic choices. So I think what I've done is I've tried to cull mostly generalizations of what's been going on now. You need to continue with social distancing precaution. That means now it's mandatory in Nevada to wear masks. Wash your hands well and often, and keep a distance of at least 6 feet from one another. I don't know if any of you noticed, I have a cast on my hand, which makes washing my hands a little more difficult because I can't get the cast wet. I just ordered a nail brush, and I wash my hands with the soft side of a nail brush because I really can't get in there to do it. So you have to make adaptations and see how it works for you. No hugs, at least in the usual way. We are feeling people. We need that human contact. But right now we have to figure out that we just can't get it. No handshakes. Try to make that public spaces you frequent cleaning regularly in a way that's safe. And understand that the virus is spread most efficiently from person to person, but also it can, and the CDC says, it can stay on surfaces. So make sure they're clean. And I don't know that I need to go through tables, doorknobs, light switches, et cetera, Remember, a 15-minute face-to-face conversation between people who are within 6 feet of each other constitute close contact. But granted, it's much safer to have that close contact outside than in an enclosed place. So you need to consider that. Confinement. Do you really want to go inside where there are 55 people, 50 people, although they say it's safe, make sure you have that safe distancing. And crowds, large crowds are risky no matter where they are gathered. And even outdoors, crowds mean more and more contacts. And ultimately, preventing infection is a numbers game. And this is what I want to leave you with. It's really different than the way I ever thought. And I think many of us thought. It's all about the math. So, does anybody want to discuss what their fears are or what their concerns about reentry? What's concerning you the most? I know I grapple with, do I really want to go to a restaurant? Do I want to sit inside? Do I want to go outside? What if I go outside and the tables are spread apart? What are some of the things you're concerned about? Jessica, did I put everybody to sleep?
I don't know. I think we have a lot of people attending. They just want to hear us talk, Kara. We have such soothing, calming voices. All right. Oh, here we go. Okay. So
I totally agree with that, Edith. Edith says other people are not taking the precautions, so it almost negates my precautions when I go out. I totally agree. And that's a tough one. I play Mahjong once a week. Everybody tells me that they're not going out and they're safe. And this was a couple of weeks ago before restaurants were open the way they are now. And so I go to the guy, speak to them, are you going out? And lo and behold, I sit down. Oh, yeah, we went out to dinner last night. So that, like you, negates it. And Jennifer says the length of how long this is going to last. I think we're all there with you.
That's a tough one. Like, I think I'm such an optimist. And then I heard someone speaking about college dorms and college going back. And he said, we need to think of college dorms like a cruise ship. And if you wouldn't go on a cruise ship right now, you know, why would you send your kids to school? And he was saying, we need to think about this going through 2020. And so I'm still wrapping my brain around that one, you know, because that's tough. I think, you know, we want things to resume. And so that's tough to think. That's why, like, I mean, I say the new normal just because it's like I want to resume some things. I don't want to be quarantined indefinitely. So, you know, that for me looks like being comfortable with a mask. And, you know, we've decided as a family that we'll have one family over at a time. So that's where we're at, because we want to kind of progress a little bit and not just stay quarantined. So I think for that one, the length of how long it's going to last, that's one of those things where, you know, I shift my focus to, well, what I know right now and how can I live the best of my ability with my comfort level and my family's comfort level right now, you know, and for us, that's not going to be taking a vacation, but maybe that's, you know, going for a lot more hikes or taking a lot more day trips or just kind of looking at what we can do right now because we don't know. Oh, we have Maria says, Edith said it best. It's hard to know if others are practicing social distancing, wearing masks, etc. Yeah, that's tough. I think that's what I'm hearing a lot of, a lot in my practice is that people, you know, let's say they're really good friends that they would normally have over for barbecues or something, aren't practicing anything, right? They're, you know, not wearing masks, they're going out all the time, everybody's working outside the home. And so then they're confused and conflicted on how to handle that, on how to see other people because other people may be following, you know, different rules and may not be practicing the same safety precautions that you are in your home.
I found, and I think what Edith and Maria are alluding to, is I found it very easy to figure out what I was doing when I was totally isolated. But then I made the decision to start, okay, I'm going to get together with some people who tell me they're socially isolated. But then I hear that they're not. And then what do I do? And that's what makes it very difficult for me. I don't know if any of you have children or grandchildren. How do you feel about the schools opening? Do you believe that they should? Are you concerned about your children or grandchildren about going back to school?
That's what all my sessions are focused on right now.
Right. I know. That's why I bring it up. We don't know exactly what they're doing in Clark County yet, but they're proposing 2 days on, 1 day for
Three
school,
and three,
and then
yeah.
3 off.
Yeah.
And
Two on, three homeschooling or
right.
whatever, three remote learning.
How does that
Yeah.
affect us? So
Right.
that's I think that's a concern for many. Have any of you gone out to restaurants and felt really uncomfortable? Or have you gone out to restaurants and feel very comfortable? Or have you not gone out to restaurants at all?
I went and got coffee and sat outside.
Yes, I order in. I agree, Jennifer. What's Postmates?
Postmates, it's delivery service like Uber Eats or
Oh, okay.
whoever.
Sorry,
I can't
I'm a
think of
little older.
more delivery.
Uh,
Grubhub, all those.
I only
Yeah.
use Instacart. I haven't been in a supermarket yet, but I'm beginning to feel that they're not fulfilling my what I really want completely. Um, so I might change that. I ordered soft scrub to clean the sink, and they sent me a toilet bowl cleaner. And you know what? Toilet bowl cleaner works really well on a sink. But that's sort of, I think I might have to. Maria, you going out? Ordering in or cooking for yourself all the time?
Trying my best to cook. I know we're all bakers and bread makers now, right? I think all of us are engaging with our inner chef.
Yes, I since I broke my wrist, I bought an apple peeler and a potato peeler, so it's really fantastic. It's stupid gadgets that are fun.
So Shiloh
Okay.
baked cookies and cheesecake. I've eaten out. I wear my mask until I eat. I felt safe in places that I've gone to due to the safety precautions they've taken. Um, and if there's an option to eat on the patio, you eat in the patio.
Right.
I think that's where it is, right? We take the cue from the precautions of the establishment. Is there anything else you want to say, Kara, before I go into my
No, I think
technique?
I'm anxious. I'm anxious and have anxiety about hearing about how to reduce mine.
Okay, so what we've just been talking about right now, the conversation of not knowing if others are practicing social distancing, whether we go out, go to the grocery store, all of that kind of stuff, is why Kara and I wanted to do this today, because I think, like Kara said, it was very easy when we were told don't go anywhere. Right? There were no decisions to make. It said no, you can't get together with parties of more than 10. So it was very easy. And now that restrictions are being lifted, now we have to decide what's best. And then that causes a lot of anxiety because when there is unknown and less things we can control, that increases our feelings of anxiety. So as I've said several times before, Kara and I did a 3-part series on managing anxiety with COVID. And so I'm just going to review a couple of the techniques from that, and then we're going to introduce new ones. So we've got to be really creative to give you guys some new ones. Okay. So what can you do? You're trying to live in the now, you're trying to live in the present, but you're still kind of feeling anxious. Okay. So some clinically proven methods are exercising, right? Even if you're walking twice a week, that is clinically proven to elevate your mood and to reduce your anxiety. Trying some yoga. We've talked before, there's all kinds of free streaming services. You can just do some stretching or some poses, maybe find something on YouTube. Journaling, right? Focusing on that moment, pen in hand journaling. Sleep is critically important for our mental health and well-being. So really focusing on getting a minimum of 7 hours of sleep each night. Kara went over last time, and I'll just describe it a little bit, but using a calming visualization. So create what that looks like for you. Imagine yourself in a peaceful and safe environment. Many times that's a beach or ocean environment for people. That's very popular And by traveling to a calming space in your mind, you're able to calm your mind and body. First, you want to engage in your breath by slowing down your breathing. And like I said, beach scenes are popular because of the calming and tranquil vibe. So you can start kind of calming, closing your eyes, breathing deeply, and think of a very tranquil and calm space. And the last thing I want to review, which I'm going to go ahead and facilitate, that Shiloh had said that he'd been using, is progressive muscle relaxation. We're going to have you slowly tense and relax each muscle, and it provides immediate relaxation. And just like with breathing, it's free, you can do anywhere. So I'm just going to have you take just a couple minutes, and you just kind of sit back in a comfortable position, and shut your eyes if you're feeling comfortable in doing so. And just begin taking a deep breath and noticing the feeling of air filling your lungs. Hold your breath for a few seconds, and then release your breath slowly and let tension leave your body. We're going to take in another deep breath and hold it. And then slowly release the air. Even slower now, take another breath, fill your lungs and hold the air. And then slowly release the breath. And just imagine tension leaving your body. I'm going to have you move your attention to your feet. Begin to tense your feet by curling your toes and the arch of your foot. Hold on to the tension and notice what that feels like. So hold that tension of curling your toes. Release the tension in your feet. Notice the feeling of relaxation. Begin to focus on your lower leg. Tense the muscles in your calves. Hold them tightly and pay attention to the feeling of tension. Release the tension from your lower legs. Feel the tension leave your body and notice that feeling of relaxation. And while we're doing this, remember that you're focusing on taking deep breaths. Next, tense the muscles of your upper legs and pelvis. You can do this by squeezing your thighs together, and make sure you feel tenseness without going to the point of strain. So holding the tension in your upper legs and pelvis, and then release. Feel the tension leaving your muscles. Begin to tense your stomach and your chest. You can do this by sucking your stomach in, squeeze harder, hold the tension a little bit longer.
Oh, I cheated. I let it out too soon.
And then release the tension, allowing your body to go limp. Let yourself notice the feeling of relaxation and continue taking in deep breaths. Breathing in slowly, noticing air fill your lungs. Hold it and release the air slowly, feeling it leave your lungs. Now we're going to tense the muscles in your back by bringing your shoulders together behind you. Hold them tightly. Tense them as hard as you can without straining. Keep holding. Release the tension from your back. Feel the tension slowly leaving your body and the new feeling of relaxation. Notice how different your body feels when you allow it to relax. Tense your arms all the way from your hands to your shoulders. So what I suggest is you making fists, squeezing, and then also bringing your shoulders up to your ears and holding it. Release the tension from your arms and your shoulders. And notice the feeling of relaxation in your fingers, your hands, your arms, your shoulders. Notice how your arms feel limp and at ease. Move up to your neck and head. Tense your face and neck by distorting the muscles around your eyes and mouth. So this is where you just like squeeze, make like a funny face, hold it really tight, and release. Now tense your entire body, everything we did, your toes, your legs, your quads, your pelvis, your stomach, your shoulders, your back, your face, and release. Allow your body to go limp. Pay attention to the feeling of relaxation and how different it is from feeling tension. Now you can begin to wake your body. If your eyes were closed, you can open your eyes. Slowly move your muscles, adjust your arms and legs. You can stretch your muscles and just kind of sit with that feeling of being relaxed and calm. So again, this was a review. And what I'm going to show you now is a couple more techniques. One that Kara talked about already is positive self-talk. I call that a coping card for my clients. So if you're in a space right now where you're having a really hard time calming yourself down and feeling relaxed, maybe just finding a phrase that helps you, right? Like maybe a phrase to tell yourself, we're going to get through this. I'm going to get through this. A phrase of everything's going to be okay. A phrase like, I know what I can do today. I'm going to focus on today, right? And just kind of looking at how you're talking to yourself. And if you're talking to yourself like, I'm going to get COVID, this is never going to end, I'm so stressed, I don't know what to do, right? That's not going to serve any purpose but to increase your anxiety. So noticing how you're talking to yourself and trying to shift that into being a little bit more positive talk. Then breath is important, and we're always going to talk about breathing. You're going to get sick of it. The one that I like now for calming, and this is recommended for bedtime as well, is just breathing in to the count of 4, holding your breath for the count of 4, and releasing for the count of 4. So let's just try that a couple times together. So breathing in, hold it, breathing out. Let's do it one more time. Hold it, breathing out.
And I like to add into that, when I'm breathing out, having my body almost, and not go limp, but just really feel that relaxation.
Right. Breathing it out. And you can find what works for you. There's one that's particular for helping sleep as well. Like Kara said, hers, Shiloh did breathing, so whatever kind of works for you. But remembering to have a long breath in, some type of hold, and then breathing out. And then I have shift your focus to the present. And that's a little bit what stroke your hands is going to be, but like you can shift your focus to the present. And that's a little bit of introducing mindfulness, but you could shift your focus to the present right to the here and now by like grabbing a pen, grabbing a cup, grabbing something around you, and then just looking at it and noticing this pen has an eraser. It clicks, looking at how it clicks. It's silver with a little swirly design. It's got a rubber grippy. Just looking at an object and noticing and asking yourself questions, read it, look at the numbers. And while you're doing that, you're just pulling yourself into the present. And that's an introduction to mindfulness. So if you're thinking, worrying about yesterday, worrying about tomorrow, a way to bring to the present is just to grab something and really look at it and explore. I know Kara had said in one of our sessions before, like reading the bag of potato chips, reading the box of cereal, just kind of bringing yourself right to the moment. And a way that we can do that is really with physical things. And so also the one I'm going to do today, and the last one that I'm sharing today, the last technique, is stroking your hands. So just take your right hand and then just guide it down along your left hand, right? Stroking down your pinky, and then up your ring finger,
Jessica,
Okay,
raise your hand a little.
okay, up your ring finger, down your ring finger, up, and you're just kind of stroking it down to this hand, looking at the whole hand, and then you switch from your left hand, your right hand, just kind of stroking down the fingers, up and down the fingers. Now, that might seem kind of silly, but it's really kind of, giving your hand like a massage, just kind of looking at yourself and focusing. And then before you know it, just like with deep breathing or progressive muscle relaxation, you've brought all of your focus, right? You're really bringing all of your focus to one tangible thing. And that is a way to help shift your focus and reduce anxiety.
I've never done this
Okay.
before, and it
I
is
like
relaxing.
that one.
Yeah.
I know, I like it. Okay. So, so those were some techniques. Are there any questions about any of those techniques? And again, we this is being recorded and you'll be sent a recording. And if you're interested in learning more techniques, I can email you the recording of Kara and I's previous webinars. You just let me know by emailing me or putting a message right here. And so we're going to do a quick little poll for you guys, and you tell us what you want to hear. So do you want to look at risks, explore the risks of some summer activities, whether they're low risk, high risk, whatever, or do you want to explore helping your children with COVID related anxiety? So we have slides for either one of those. What sounds good? The children one or managing risk slide would you like us to review? Everyone's so blissed out after my hand stroking technique. Right. Shiloh doesn't have kids, so he doesn't. I'm assuming then don't want to hear on how to help the kids.
But he works with them.
Okay. What would anybody else like? Would anyone else like to finish off with risks of summer activities, exploring whether they're high risk, moderate risk, low risk, or how to talk to your kids about COVID-related anxiety? Kids? Kids? Kids! Okay. I'm going to pull up the slide and then I'm going to have you, let me see. I'm going to have Kara review this one. Sharing. Okay, Kara?
Okay, so we put up a slide that gives us 8 tips for managing your child's anxiety. So one of the things that we talked about a lot in previous sessions, and it's so important, especially we talked about setting up a routine and a schedule for ourselves. Well, it's even more important to set up a routine for your kids because if they're school age, they've lost the structure of school. Now, I think everybody was very optimistic and was following this as soon as they went into quarantine. And I think that's sort of become lax. I know with my grandchildren, it was every morning get up at 9 o'clock and go outside and do exercise. I don't think they've done that in a while. But they've moved it to the afternoon, but it's not that routinized. When they were in school and they had virtual learning, they were busy from 9 to 12 every morning. But now you have to build in some other activities. And I was just talking about it with one of my patients that, you have to have a creative time or a project time. And somebody said, all my kid wants to do is watch and play on their iPad or play video games. Well, I said, there are things on those devices. I don't know how to use them, but you can lock them out so they can't get, my grandson happens to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning to go play a video game. So we talked about, well, now all his equipment is locked until 8 o'clock. So, and he's finding other things to do. Look at that. Can't do it. He'll find it. So set up a routine that's realistic. If you have children, I think it's somewhat important, and you don't have to be rigid about this, to do some type of work over the summer, a workbook, a math review, not heavy duty, not, oh my God, you have to sit for an hour and do it, but a page or two a day just to keep their skills up, and put that into the routine. Listen to your children and check in frequently. Some kids are having the time of their life. They're playing in their backyards. They get together, as Jessica does with her family, one family at a time. But there are others who might be, really feeling the anxiety. If you have TV on a lot and they're watching it, they might be feeling anxiety. If you're stressed about how are you going to handle them and not go and work at the same time, so check with them. Ask them how they're feeling. There's nothing wrong with saying, gee, I heard some of the kids are a little anxious about what's going on. Do you have any worries or concerns? And so that by bringing in that many other children might have it, it might normalize and say it's okay to discuss your feelings. Look for signs of anxiety. Are they fidgeting? Are they having trouble concentrating? Are they reverting to more babyish behavior? Are they withdrawing? Jessica, can you think of any other signs?
Difficulty sleeping, maybe
Right.
a little bit more irritable behavior.
Changes in, a little more irritable behavior could be a major clue. Teach them coping skills. Certainly the breathing is very important, and we do that. There are some wonderful books out there, and if you're interested, I can send you some links about, for younger children, breathing is pretending you're blowing up a balloon. And now blow. Or blowing out the candles on a birthday cake.
Or I've done feathers, bubbles, all those things to
Right.
breathing.
Get that breathing going. Okay.
I want to add to the coping skills, something that's really simple. Anytime you want your mindfulness, like we talked a little bit about today, what we did in our house is I got a big poster size blank coloring sheet, and you can just tape paper on a table. And I put colored pencils on our dining table. And then anytime anybody wants to come sit and color, we've been working on this massive thing. So coloring is such a great way to teach mindfulness, especially and calming your body, because you're just sitting and, coloring the leaves green. And especially with so many screens and devices, I don't think we color as much as we used to. So coloring and puzzles are ways to teach them coping skills. Go ahead, Kara. Sorry.
One of my grandchildren received as a birthday present a 4x6 poster that they put up on the wall, and it's coloring. And anybody in the family will just go over, and it's a picture of a llama and a cactus. And it's huge. I mean, it's 6 feet off the ground. It's pretty high. And they just go, and anybody at any point, you can always look at somebody's coloring. And I think that's the kind of thing, exactly what Jessica said. Legos. That's the kind of stuff that you can participate with them, or they can do on their own.
I think for me, just like a side note, because also I think we tend to quarantine anyway in Vegas in the summer because it's in the hundreds. And so I'm just kind of letting go of toys being everywhere right now, and not worrying about my house being clean, because I usually love it to be clean. But it's I feel like the whole first floor now is just more like a play fun area. Like we've had the Lego town, or now we have little pet shop people out, or, just kind of relaxing and letting more tangible toys be out a little bit more, so the kids can have that to go to and focus on.
Just like my jigsaw puzzle that's in the middle of my office. Yeah. Okay. And then you want to focus on controllable tasks like washing hands. I think by now it should be routine for them. I think when you say, okay, we just came in, wash your hands. A lot of people are instituting taking your shoes off, because shoes might bring the virus in from when they're coming in from outside. Just make it automatic. Teach them how to do it, remind them, and model for them. Once again, encourage positive thinking. I do an exercise with young children is asking about what would their favorite vacation place be, and talking about some positive thoughts. Sometimes we build schools with swimming pools and ramps out of your window, so you can just go, think about things, fantasy a little bit, but also positive things. And I think that works. Stay connected, watch with them, watch some videos with them. If you're going to watch TV, do it with them so they feel connected and that you're just not letting them watch TV and then you're off doing your own thing. I think it's very important during this time that they feel security around you. And once again, if you feel there's some concerns about that their anxiety might be too high or they're really having some feelings about that, you can always seek professional help. And at this point, both Jessica and I are seeing an increase in our practices with people who are really feeling anxious. And it's not a long-term thing, but it's something that if you're having these feelings, there are techniques more than we're doing to here that we can help you with and help your children with. Jennifer, is there any way you can send the 3-part Manage Anxiety? Of course, Jess will do that.
Yes.
I'm not as technologically advanced. Anybody have any questions, any thoughts about other topics they'd like us to do? We plan on doing these, I think, once a month, we said, and there's a need for more. Those of you who have children will probably do something closer to when school opens, which God knows when that's going to be because they keep on changing the date. And, we'll work on that. And I think we also have to, at some point, talk about how you're going to manage if you're working, how we are going to manage the kids, what we're going to do with them when they return to school. And
I just put our contact information up. If you want to call us or email us or have any questions for us. And we are currently accepting new clients, and I'm in the office. I'm requiring my clients to wear a mask. I wear a mask, but I'm still doing probably 75% telehealth video sessions. How about you, Kara? You're all 100% video sessions?
I'm all 100% video, although I do have a new client who expressed a desire to go into the office, and I'll probably be starting that not this Saturday, but next Saturday.
Yeah.
So we're pretty flexible.
Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. If there are any more questions, we'll just hang on for another minute or two. But like I said, you'll automatically be getting a recording of this. It takes, I think, like 2 hours to load a recording, and it automatically will be emailed to you. And thank you so much for coming. Thank you, Shiloh. And I'm going to put a note, Jennifer, to email you that session 3. All three parts.
Does anybody else want session?
She wants all 3. Yeah, the 3.
No. Does anybody else want a copy of all 3? Just let Jessica know.
And I'm also posting it on. I'm putting.
Wants it also.
Okay, I'm putting it on YouTube, as well, so it will be accessible to the public. Once I figure out, I think I loaded it. I loaded session 1. We'll see if I can find it. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Stay safe and well, and take care.
Okay. Bye-bye.